try and continue, and let's see what the chat says on if we progress a little bit.
Okay.
So Tommy, when is this thing coming out?
Well, it's scheduled to come out on 10/10/2020, October 10th, 2020. As of today, right now, we do have, we're on track, obviously, the whole COVID thing, set manufacturing back by 2 months. And the other thing that a lot of people don't realize too about, not only did you lose 2 months of manufacturing over in China, but also that everything has become very scarce, which then drives the prices up. So it's finding the right components and memory, and kind of like toilet paper over here, right? So when things become scarce, the prices rise, and so that's affecting everybody. It's affecting all electronics, not just Intellivision. We're no different than anyone else, except that we don't have the kind of purchasing power and buying power like the big companies like Sony and Microsoft have. But you're even seeing it with Nintendo, right? I mean, Nintendo Switches, everybody's trying to find one, and Nintendo's trying to make as many as they possibly can. Right. So and here we are, on going into May, we're at the end of April, and this country is still shut down, right? So yes, we're on track. But if this stuff continues for like another month or so, I mean, how could we possibly, still do everything we need to do in the time we have? So, everything, if not for COVID,
getting to the point of crunch time. It's getting to the point of fight or flight for people out here. It's getting real serious. I've been kind of lucky that I'm still working, but not a lot of people are as lucky as me, at the moment, and things are kind of getting rough. And then even my job at this point is being called into question. So yeah, it's rough out there for everyone right now, for sure.
Yeah, and so so again, as we sit here today, we're on schedule for 10/10 if everything goes smooth and goes as planned. But obviously, there's things massively out of our control that that are still in play. So I hope we hit our 10/10 date. It's a very personal date for me. I come from a very tight Italian family, 100% Italian, and I'm the oldest son. My parents are still alive. I have a younger brother, but I had a middle sister. Her name was Karen, and she was born on 10/10 in 1972, and she was handicapped, and she passed away when she was 24 years old. And so,
sorry to hear that.
Part of the reason I picked that date over 2.5 years ago was because I wanted to, yes, it's a cool date, 10/10/2020, but I also wanted to honor, the memory of my sister,
right,
on that date. So trust me when I say, that date has a very special meaning to me. So I'm going to do everything in my power, to make that happen for just my own personal reason.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah, that's great, man. So let me ask you this.
Mm-hmm.
In your eyes, who is this console exactly made for?
Yeah, that's a great question, and it's probably one of the questions that the most that kind of a lot of hardcore gamers, have a slight disconnect with, and that's fair. That's fair. So, I mean, the easy answer, Trevor, would be to tell you, oh, it's for everybody, because that's what a person in my position would say. I think eventually, I think a lot of people, even the super of hardcore gamers, will enjoy it. But that's not really our target market, and it's not our go-to-market strategy. Our go-to-market strategy, Trevor, is is folks who, play hyper casual and casual games that maybe, would like to connect more with their family. Think about the Wii, right? Are your parents still alive, Trevor?
Yep. Yep.
Okay.
Live
And when the Wii came out, did you play bowling, Wii Sports with like your mom or
Oh,
dad?
like
I don't know if
everybody else did. Absolutely.
right. And so that's kind of what we're trying to capture again 14 years later. So if you can kind of put your, if folks can put their remember way back hat on and remember that feeling, except every single one of our games has that couch co-op style to it. Some games use motion control. Some of our like some of the recreational sports games like cornhole or horseshoes or shuffleboard or bowling and things like that.
Right.
Sometimes the controller, we have simple games where you're using the screen, the touch screen of the controller. Sometimes you're using the disc. Lots of lots of different ways. The controller isn't really, try not to think of it as like a normal PlayStation controller, with like dual analog sticks and all that.
Yeah, I can't help but anytime that a company, whether it's Nintendo or whoever, puts out some sort of gimmick in their controller, just my experience with it has always just been poor. So I can't help but look at that and be like, yeah, that turns me off completely.
Yeah, and as a hardcore gamer, that's absolutely, might be the case. You might absolutely hate our controller. You might hate our the games. And but the thing to remember is not to go into it thinking like trying to compare it to a Nintendo Switch or a PlayStation or an Xbox. We're not really doing what they're doing,
Right. No, I get that, but
yeah.
This kind of centers on my next point, which is if you guys are kind of trying to cater to that mobile market, why use Intellivision? Why try and shoehorn the design of the Intellivision controller into
Yeah,
into the controller, the present controller?
Sure, that's a great question. So here's the thing that's interesting. Again, Trevor, I need you to, you're coming at everything, and again, I totally understand and I appreciate it, but you're coming at everything in your world right now.
Oh, for
Thinking,
sure, for sure.
because that's exactly. And so think about this for a sec, right? Think about an average mom or an average non-gamer parent or a 5-year-old kid, and imagine them in a focus test room. Okay. And we have a PlayStation 4 controller, an Xbox One controller, a Nintendo Switch controller, and then our controller on a table. Which one do you think, if we said, hey, non-gaming casual person, which one of these controllers do you think you would like to play a game with? And again, I can tell you, people can think I'm lying or whatever, but again, think about it. Really, when you think about it, 9 times out of 10, they'll pick our controller. So it was designed for a reason. That the design
let me ask you this,
from,
not to interrupt you, but
sure.
Let me
No,
chime in on this.
I drag on sometimes, so feel free to interrupt me whenever you want.
I hear you. In these tests, these market tests that you're talking about, these studies, are you also adding in a phone with these controllers?
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
All right. And you're finding
because
that kids are grabbing your controller over a phone?
Yeah, absolutely. Because you know why? And we ask them, why did you pick this and that? And the reason is because they see the best of both worlds, right? And they see the lights light up. Again, it might seem silly, but ooh, wow. And
shiny little wheel there.
it's like a directional pad, right?
No,
And
I'm saying in the eyes of a kid, this shiny little wheel. Let me play with that.
Yeah, and again, when you think about a controller, when you think about using your phone as a controller, now it's great for like match 3 games and swiping here and, but think about this for Pac-Man, right? Pac-Man's the most simplest of games, up, down, left, and right. It absolutely sucks. That the phone is not a good controller. It's not a good controller. It's a good controller for crosswords and the super duper, really simple popping games and endless runner type of stuff. But as a a controller for like a 2D platformer or a
No, I get it. I started
yeah,
out. I kind of started out before I had all this crap around me. I started
mm,
out buying up old shooters on the iOS platform on my iPad.
right, right.
Bullet hell shooters, Patchy, games like
And you're
that.
and you're moving your
You know,
finger all over the screen. It's like auto fire.
right. So then I started out collecting all these shooters, and I'm like, man, I got to start buying all these systems. And then I started figuring out games I had never heard of or whatever, and then it just turned into all this, you know. But yeah, I mean, I guess that's
Yeah.
fair. But no, go on.
So I was going to say, so I mean, so that's the thing, is that we're combining the best of both worlds. People who aren't hardcore gamers can look at the controller and go, oh wow, that's a touchscreen. It's new. It's interesting. Because when you put a PlayStation, and by the way, I love the PlayStation 4 controller. It's personally my favorite controller. I'd probably put the Xbox second, Switch third, if I had to like order those three. And I'd put mobile like a way distant fourth. And so, but again, think about taking a PlayStation 4 controller and putting it in your grandparents' hands or your mom's hands or whatever. It is intimidating for somebody who doesn't play video games all the time.
Right, right. Well, let me
And the
ask
other
you
thing
this.
too, Trevor, sorry, one last thing is with the motion control as well, because people say, oh, well, you can play those games on your phone. Well, let me give you an example, a bowling game. Now, a bowling game on your phone, you're just swiping like this, and you're playing by yourself, your face buried in your phone, and you're swiping up like that. Using motion control and having everybody have a controller and a main TV and doing the bowling motion, that is a completely 100% different experience than one person with their head buried in their phone swiping their phone, right? Again, compare a bowling phone, a single solitary bowling game on your phone mobile device to like the Nintendo Wii experience that you remembered, as
Well, how much money do you have set aside for like, marketing, putting out ads on YouTube, on TV, whatever?
Yeah,
I'm just going off of a, comparison to the Wii, which is what you're sort of aiming for, that
right.
simplicity.
You're gonna love this answer, Trevor, and I'm glad you asked, because not a lot of people ask me that question. So let me ask you, how much
Because
money do
obviously
you?
the Wii had tons, and
So
their marketing was
I know exactly how
unbelievable.
much they had. How much do you think they had to launch in America?
I would probably sound ignorant to even guess, so I'm not even going to. I
Yeah, but
wouldn't know.
this is part of the this is part of the this is part of the the kind of thing, is that the assumption is, and again, it's totally cool, but the assumption from your side is, if I may be so bold, is that Nintendo has all the money in the world to market the Wii, and in television, you guys don't have any money. You're not going to
No,
have as
no,
much
not
money
at
as
all, not at
or no,
all.
you're not going to have as much as Nintendo,
And no,
right?
not even that. Not even
Okay,
that. Just to gauge how seriously you're taking this.
cool.
If you were about to say, well, this is you know, my marketing. This is how I'm handling it. You know, maybe we
Yeah.
might get some radio spots or whatever. Then that would be, you know, a huge
Death.
glaring red flag. You know,
so
so
so let me answer your question. I'll answer your question more direct. So you know, so Nintendo, when they launched the Wii, they had approximately $15 million in America. Their go-to-market strategy consisted very much of getting the machine in people's hands, whether it was mall tours or in-store demos, and then of course word of mouth spread. Like my mom bought a Wii, and I didn't tell her to buy one. She bought it because she went over a friend's house and they were playing it and she wanted one, right? So
right,
that's very important. Now, keep in mind that back there 14 years ago, that was before influencers, before YouTube, before Facebook, before keywords, before all that stuff. So they had to use a lot more traditional marketing. Now, meaning, they didn't have the Google analytics and they didn't have all that stuff to where they could really, spend money properly. So that's what they had. Now, I also need to say that the folks who put that plan together are working with us, right? So Perrin Kaplan, the senior executive vice president of Nintendo, she was there for 18 years. Kelly Horner, these are the folks that were at Nintendo by the way, they launched the Super Nintendo, the N64, the GameCube, the Wii, and then they left. So they didn't do the Wii U. So that's something
right,
for you. But and so these are the people who are working with us to craft our marketing plan. And our head of marketing, our global vice president of marketing, her name is Kara Acker. She was at Mattel for many years, and she was in charge of the Disney franchises. So if you known anyone who ever bought a Frozen toy, you can blame Kara for that, right? So
right.
these are women who live and breathe this market for 20 years. So to answer your question, $10 million. That's what
Okay.
Intellivision has on the books. Now, when we start but we're going to spend it in a very different way. Yes, we're going to do mall tours. Yes, we're going to do in-store promotions. Those are very, very important to us. But we're also going to be getting there and doing all these incredible, amazing things that that maybe Sony, Nintendo, and Microsoft wouldn't do because it's not really their audience. So, for example, if you search Google right now, Trevor, if you put in Mom 2.0 Summit, the Mom 2.0 Summit, and then put in Intellivision in Google, Mom 2.0 Summit Intellivision. And what that is, it's kind of like a conference, like a 3-day conference convention of all the like top mommy bloggers and mom influencers on YouTube. And they all get together for this massive conference. Now, look who's sponsoring that conference this fall. Intellivision is, right? So we're going to use, we're going to be reaching out when our advertising starts, which isn't until the end of the summer, because why would we advertise now? I do things like this, talking to the folks and talking to you, and we put out, trailers that are really focused to like retro gamers right now, because those are the only people who are really paying attention, and we're not having to spend any money to get to those people. But you're going to see our marketing massively shift closer to the release of the product. And so, yes, things like mall tours, getting influencers, mom influencers, kid influencers, and using our major partnerships, which we're going to start to be announcing as early as next week. I'm talking about our licensors that are the biggest, some of the most in the world. And we're going to be using them to get to their 20 million or 40 million folks, So I
Right.
hope that answers your question. Feel free to
Yeah,
ask me
no,
some
no,
more. But
absolutely. So one thing I definitely want to bring up to you. Um,
RGT 85's in the in the
Yeah,
house.
I haven't really got to the chat, but there's a
I
bunch of
love
people in
that
there.
guy's channel. I want to go on his channel. RGT85. Come on, we got to do something like this, me and you. All right, go ahead.
So one of the things I wanted to clarify with you on the interview with Rich was one of the questions I had asked you. You seem to not know what freemium was, and I mean, if that's the case, that's fair. You know, not everybody's up on all the
No,
lingo.
I never heard. I never heard freemium. I heard you say that in your video to that, and I had no idea what you were talking about.
Okay,
So
because even Rich asked you, you're not gonna have freemium games, are you? And you said, no, no. And then you said, well,
right,
there's gonna
true.
be 6 free games, you know.
No.
So
No, so let me clarify that, and I'm glad you brought that up.
That was the super chat, and that's what Rich asked you was,
yeah,
are you gonna have freemium games?
And the answer was no. We are not going to have freemium games. There's not going to be any microtransactions. There's not going to be any in-app advertising. There's not going to be any loot boxes or any of that crap that runs rampant on here. None of that right. stuff. So I answered the question.
Go ahead and clarify it. I'll let you clarify it first.
Yeah. So I went ahead and I said no to that question. It's a very simple answer. No, we're not going to have any of that. Now, I also wanted to get in there as well that by the way, we have 6 games that are preloaded pack-ins that are loaded on the console. So there were 2 separate things in my mind.
All right, fair enough. So here's what I'd say to that. Here's the follow-up. So if you're not, and by the way, it's respectable, you know, I mean, which is why, you know, Rich reacted the way he did. You know, that's one of the things, you know, we complain about all the time is DLC and freemium games and in-app purchases and all of this stuff just bleeding you dry, right? But if you're appealing to the mobile market, you know, you're also going to want, you know, these devs to make games for you, right? So my question would be, how are you going to get them to not be greedy, you know, and
because we own all the. So that's a great question. And so the thing to realize is that, again, our whole system, whole ecosystem is very, very different from Nintendo, Microsoft, and Sony, very different from Steam, and very, very different from mobile. So what happens is our system is completely curated, right? So it's a closed system. So, you know, unlike this, where there's 1,000 new games a week on iOS or these poor developers who, I mean, poor, like I feel bad for them, not no money poor, right? But I mean, these poor developers who like work their butts off for like a year or 2 years, and then their game on Steam, and then it's like off the what's new list within like 4 hours because it, like, you know, there's so many games that are being downloaded.
Right.
See, so what we do is we partner with some of these great, some of the best indie developers and even third developers. We have mostly third-party developers, actually. We have more third-party than we do indie developers. It's getting almost 50 now, but so we partner with them and we pay them up front to create content for us, right? And then we share with them the revenue and we give them all of the resources they need, whether it's like our art director is Mike Dietz. He was the art director on Disney's Aladdin, Cool Spot, Earthworm Jim 1 and 2. This guy has so many art and animation awards. It's crazy, right? How would you like that guy to be, you know, giving advice or help or, you know, instruction sometimes, you know, for your art direction in regards to audio? I know a thing or two about audio, it said. And so we do all of the audio. So here you go. You can, you know, you don't need to supply audio. You know, Tommy and his team, his audio team, are going to supply that for you. In regards to optimization is a very, very important step. Now, we have our code optimizers are the guys who created the machine. How would you like them to be looking through your code, helping out, giving suggestions, and this and that? So we really is a true partnership. And we make the game along with them. I mean, I'm responsible for a lot of the design in the games that are going out there, aside from the audio and the designs as well. And our team has 600 years of video game experience. So when people say, oh, we're not if the games are going to be fun or whatever, well, again, Jason Enos is our vice president of production. He was at Konami for 12 years. He produced some of the games that you may know as a hardcore gamer. You might have heard of Metal Gear Solid, those games, Silent Hill, Dance Dance Revolution, Contra, Castlevania. Then he was at Namco for 8 years. So these are the types of folks. Rusty is another guy who's been in the industry 30 years. And, he was the producer on Descent, but when he was at Interplay for almost 18 years, then he moved over and he helped to form Sony's whole kind of independent studio stuff. So remember the game Flow and Flower? Rusty was the guy who found those games and brought them into the PlayStation. My point being is
right,
that we have...
I get it.
You get it, yeah.
So, but are you trying to say that you're going to try and mostly get starting up developers to develop for the console? Because
no,
well,
like I said,
I'm just trying to put it together that you're trying to, you explained it in the video, that you have a certain percentage, and one of those percentages, one of the 20% that you named was what
do you mean 20%?
Retro Corner. You had broken down into percentages in the videos. You had
the percentages of the games that we're doing, the style,
right, the different categories, genres,
yes,
whatever.
I got you now. Yeah.
So you had the Retro Corner, which was, I think, possibly the best fit for these up and coming developers. I would think. I wouldn't think these new developers would be making Yahtzee.
Why not? Why wouldn't they?
I mean, maybe.
Yahtzee's an easy game with a great license. They make a lot of money.
I'm just trying to wrap my mind around someone that can, make this one game and just make firmware updates and just keep cashing in, versus someone that's gonna make it for you, get a lot of help, maybe get some credit along the way and whatever, but doesn't have that cash cow coming in or constantly.
Yeah,
I mean, do you think that is going to be difficult?
No. We have 100 developers signed up already. And there's some of the top people in the world, and they've been making games, some of them for 20, 30 years. So I'm not afraid at all, because we have 50 games in development right now, and we have 50 other developers waiting to start projects in the fall.
Okay.
Well, yeah, and they're top level people too. In fact, Trevor, we even did a press release and we listed off like our first 25 developers. And so, I don't know if you're familiar with Other Oceans. They're very Micah. He's a very, very well-known person in the retro community. His stuff is absolutely top-notch. In fact, if you saw the re-release of Disney's Aladdin, a game we worked on, and Lion King, like they did that.
I've seen it. I haven't had a chance to check it out yet.
Yeah, but they did all of the Street Fighter anniversary stuff, the Capcom stuff, but they redo like the games. They're unbelievable. He's very well known, and they're one of the the most amazing developers. They've been around for a long time. People like there's so many. I just go to the list. Yeah.
Yeah, so we had a user question. I'm trying to keep up with the chat, guys.
Sure.
So, but we had a user question. Who was it? Dr. Game Love asked, "Are you gonna have mandatory demos like the Xbox Live Arcade had?"
Mandatory meaning people can play the games before they try before you buy, kind of thing. Is that what you mean? I'm assuming.
Yeah, I
Yes.
mean, I kind of remember. Wasn't it mandatory that they had to have some sort of demo? I'm not
Well,
sure.
here
It was a question from from Doctor Game Love,
sure.
you
Well,
know. But
I'll Radical Reggie's in the
I
house.
don't particularly remember that every game had to have a demo, but he could be
Well,
right.
I'll explain. I'll explain what we're doing. So anyway, so one of the really cool, unique things about the controller is that the system comes with two controllers, which it's the first video game system, like new video game system, to come with two controllers in 30 years. Individual controllers. Now, some people are going to say, wait, but you can split the Switch into two controllers. Yeah, you can take one controller that you get from Nintendo and you can split it into two parts. I'm talking about two completely separate controllers. And the last system to do that was the Super Nintendo. And then, of course, you can also hook up to 8 mobile devices to the machine. You download our free app, amicoclub.com. Amico Club is available right now. You can download it. We have a little
Okay,
Moon
Game Love,
Patrol
we'll
demo.
get to it, man.
Um, so um, so anyway, but here's the cool thing. I can take my controller and Trevor, I can go over to your house. I tap or I put my controller onto your machine, and now we can play all of my games that I purchased. We can play them on your machine as long as my controller is attached to your machine. So that's pretty cool, right? I mean,
Yeah, being
I've
able to
never,
share games with friends and stuff
yeah,
like that, you know. But that was kind of one thing that sort of confused me on
okay,
the interview. Was if you don't have online, it's the
mm-hmm.
console's not for you. Like if you don't have internet, you know.
Yeah. If you don't have
Like you
internet,
had said, you know, you'll have the 6 games, but that's about it. So it's kind of based always online.
so tell me what percentage of people in the States or around the world don't have online who would buy a video game machine?
Did you really just frame it like you don't you guys have cell phones? Is that I
Well,
mean,
no, no, but I'm asking you a
to
question.
be fair, did you witness the backlash against, you know, the Xbox One? And
Oh God, yeah.
maybe people aren't going to care.
Oh no,
I'm just
but let me.
asking to clarify though, you
Yeah.
know, and to answer
So
your
so the
question, I don't know. I mean,
so the
it's
answer
only
is
now
our
that I'm
box
getting
doesn't have to be
dependable.
online all the time. If that's your question, the answer is no. The Amico does not have to be online like the Xbox One was. Hell no. That's the whole idea of what I was trying to explain is that no, if you want to connect your box to the internet and download new games and then disconnect it, you can do that all day long. Now you're not going to get, you wouldn't get the leaderboard, online leaderboard stuff. You'd only have
Right.
the local leaderboard stuff. But yeah, to clarify, I'm glad you brought this up. To clarify, the machine absolutely does not, I repeat, does not need to be connected to the internet. The only time that you may want to connect it to the internet is if you want to purchase more games for the system. And so,
Right, but you'll have physical and digital releases, right?
correct.
So
Yes.
people could, you know, always go to the store. Like if they don't want to compete in the online thing, you know, say
Uh-huh.
somebody's, you know, uh, doesn't like the internet, you know,
Okay.
and they want to buy every game physical, you know,
Uh-huh.
that's going to be possible for them?
No, you're going to have to. You can buy physical games, but you will need an internet connection to the way our RFID system is connected and the way everything's stored. And the reason we do that, Trevor, though, is for the reason I just mentioned, so that the key to the games is kind of like
So it'll be
held in
kind of
the.
like the Xbox, where you know initially you'll have to make an internet connection, you'll have to set up a profile, and that'll be
You don't
tethered
have to.
to.
No, you don't have to.
So
You
is
don't,
the pro? Oh, it's an RFID. It's a
yeah.
Yeah, so that's how it's
It could
working.
be a gift card, for example, and you could tap it
Okay,
on the machine. You don't have to set up
I
a
follow.
profile. Tap it on the machine, boom, the money shows up. You don't have to put in those annoying 32 alphanumeric codes on your analog stick anymore.
But really quickly before I forget again, so
Yes.
to answer Dr. Gamelove's question, you don't have to have a demo, uh, to have the game out. Not every game necessarily will have a demo playable before you buy a game.
No, no, we're not having that. No.
Are you gonna have trailers for games
Oh,
as
this absolutely.
mandatory or?
Yep. So basically, we haven't shown anyone our
I guess what
menus.
he's trying to say is, obviously, if you're setting some sort of limit on the amount of games that can come out, you're obviously trying to have some sort of quality control over it. So I
Uh-huh.
think he's trying to expand upon that. What is your plan to, satisfy gamers that they're not just buying this fluff game that should only cost
Hmm.
99 cents, and they're wasting their time paying
Yeah.
$10
Well,
for it.
we don't have any games that would warrant 99 cents, but but yeah. So like I was saying, the menu screen when you turn the machine on, we have something that's no one's ever done before, and it makes everything very very easy to see before you purchase.
Yeah. Well, I definitely think there's a lot of people out there that they all they have is satellite internet,
Uh-huh.
and it's pretty crummy,
Yeah.
But I guess we'll see if it works, I'm personally kind of opposed to the online thing,
Okay.
How do
And the
you
system
think?
might not be for you, my friend. That's okay.
Yeah, and that's fine. So what are your thoughts on like day one patches and stuff like that? Like
Uh-huh.
putting out a game that's kind of glitchy at first, and then you patch it, and
Yeah. That's exactly the kind of stuff that we hate. That's why you'll see no DLC. And when I say no
because to
DL,
be fair, I can pull like 3 or 4 different copies of Mike Tyson's Punch Out off of my shelf right now, and you'll
uh-huh.
see different revisions, right?
Yeah.
But for the
Yeah.
most part, when that game came out, it wasn't a glitchy mess. You're not gonna find the first revision of Punch
Yeah.
Out, and it's
Don't you hate that?
a glitchy mess.
Right.
But nowadays, you had games like, what was it? Actually, I
Don't you
think
hate that?
RGT85 made a video on it. I think it was Rhyme. Rhyme, the first day it came out,
Uh-huh.
was a glitchy, broken mess. So the
Yeah.
so the
Don't you hate
argument
that?
kind of develops like, well, when we lose the servers, when we lose what I'm failing on my words here, when we lose support for the Switch, let's say,
Uh-huh. Or
the
The Wii just turned off their internet
the
last year.
Rhyme being it needs to be patched. If you buy a used Switch and you format the memory and there's no support for it, that
Uh-huh.
game's a broken mess.
Yeah, it
You
sucks,
pretty much
right?
have to homebrew it to maybe get that
Right.
patch. So
Yeah, we don't
what
have
I
that
guess what
problem.
so you're taking steps to avoid things like that.
Oh, 100%. I mean, every single game that goes on there will be 100% quality control. Again, I don't know where the video game industry lost its way, where quantity became more important than quality, right? And that's something that we take very dear to hold dear to our hearts. See, Trevor, our two biggest things that we want to provide our customers is trust. That's one big one. We want people to trust us, and value. We want people to feel like they're getting a lot of value for for what they're getting. And see, our main objective, you won't hear me talking about quarterly earnings and giga terafloppy technology stuff. What I'm saying is we want to get back to the basics. We want to get games, you know were fun back in the day. Every one of those NES carts behind you, you would probably play half of those before you played some brand new third person shooter that looked all glossy and great, and it was complicated to get into. I bet you've played more hours on those old carts, maybe.
Yeah,
and so
I have.
so for us, that's the whole idea, is that we want, and again, remember, our game, we're not trying to create Call of Duty. We're not trying to create these games, these massive games that have that could potentially have hundreds of bugs and crash bugs in them and stuff like that. So we want to create a game like the old days. We want to get it right the first time.
Right, I get that, but
But if something's wrong, but let me finish by saying, but if something's wrong, then we'll update that, right? If there's something that's like massively wrong with the game, or something that we somehow missed. And of course, you hire third-party outside testers as well. So you go through this big process. But our idea is, money isn't the most important thing to us. It's that value and trust. And so in order to gain that trust, we need to make sure our crap is great from day one. And so that's something that's very important to us.
Right. Well, no, I was just gonna add that, even though you're concentrating on like 2D style, older style games, Bloodstained actually on the Switch had a lot of problems.
Okay.
I haven't played on the newest update. Well, actually I have, and the loading between rooms is still, to me, really
yeah.
Really
see, that
off.
would never happen on our machine. We won't put out a product unless we think it's great.
Right. I guess I'm just making the point that it happens with older style games too, and I don't know what I don't remember what engine they used, but I think you guys are using mostly Unity. Is that correct? Unity, or it just depends, or
it depends. Every developer is different. I would say that probably 90% of the games that are being made for Amico are made in Unity, I would say.
Okay. All right. So let me ask you about Earthworm Jim.
Sure.
And this is mostly just to clarify, because
the
answer you kind of gave, I found wasn't so direct, but is Earthworm Jim, and I'm not really concerned where it started from, but is Earthworm Jim going to be a full-fledged experience that we've come to expect with, the first few games?
Of course. What do you think? We're going to take the license and make a bubble popping game?
Yes, across the board. All right. There we go. So we can put that one to bed. It's done.
Well, and again, let me just say, look, it's the original team. We know what we're doing. People who think we're going to all of a sudden do a crappy Earthworm Jim game, they're not, they're just looking for things to pick apart at that point. That team, we did Global Gladiators, Cool Spot, Disney's Aladdin, Earthworm Jim 2. Those are the 5 games that the 10 of us worked on together, start to finish, 5 years in a row.
Yeah, I'm just going to say I loved Cool Spot. I grew up with Cool Spot on the Genesis. That was a great game. Cool Spot.
So please
was a great
just
game.
Trust us. We haven't all
the games you listed was great. I'm just saying I grew up with Cool Spot and I really liked it.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
So here's the next question for you, Tommy.
Yes.
You got into a lot of disdain for violence and everything.
Well, that's not true. That's not true. Let's start there. That's not true.
To be fair, you said the gaming industry has gone too far twice. You said that during the stream. You didn't say.
Can I clarify that? Because you're putting words in my mouth right now.
How am I putting words in your mouth?
Because what I want your viewers to do, because you can't say that my overall idea of the industry is that the industry's gone too far in that stuff. I have been a proponent for artistry and not censoring stuff my entire career. So to erase all of the hard work that I've done is insulting.
Or you didn't clarify enough, but you did make just the overarching statement as a whole twice. I think the gaming industry has gone too far.
Yeah. So can
that's what I'm giving you the opportunity to do, is clarify on that.
Great. So let
So
me do
go
that.
ahead.
So what I said is that what I don't like is when, and so let me first start by saying I did a whole TED talk on this. If people look up TED Talk, Tallarico, they will see how I defend the industry to allow them to do violence and art and all this stuff. So I'm the biggest proponent for free speech in the industry, and I've done that for 30 years. So for somebody to, for anyone to maybe, and again, I'm going to blame myself. It was taken out of context, but I mean, I don't think it was, but people made cuts of it, and it looks bad the way it
Well, I
came
made
out.
cuts of it.
Fine,
I
my
made
mistake.
cuts of it myself.
Okay, my mistake. So let me clarify what the problem I have was. Is that the issue that I have is that there's a lot of content out there that parents, when they buy a machine like a Nintendo Switch, a lot of parents, they don't set the parental controls, right? And that's not the industry's fault, but I'm just, let's be real, right? Let's be real, right? Not a lot of parents will set the parental controls. And a lot of parents also think that, well, something like that has the name Nintendo on it is going to be safe for my kids. I don't need to worry about it because it's Nintendo. And you and me both know that has always been the case with Nintendo. They were the most strict place. You remember, they wouldn't let.
It's mostly been the case. I'll agree with you on that. When we were growing up, they censored Mortal Kombat, on the Super Nintendo. That was, the version that was censored and whatever. So I'll grant you that. But
so,
I mean,
so
you went as far as to say that your Night Stalkers game doesn't shoot humans, it shoots robots. So I'm listening to that and I'm thinking to myself, if this guy gets a Contra game approved, gets with his contacts and gets us a Contra game, just a bullet hitting the character is going to be censored.
True, my friend.
I'm just telling you where my train of thoughts goes based on what you said. Right. I'm not saying it's true. I'm saying that's where my mind goes.
I appreciate it. So just so you know, anyone can Google right now Contra and look at what the ESRB rating is on Contra. The rating is E10 plus, which is exactly what our machine does. What we don't allow on the machine is teen or mature rated games. Now, what makes a game teen? What makes a game teen is mild blood, mild bad language, mild sexual content, mild, extreme violence, right? And so we don't want any of that. But if you'd like me, I could quickly explain what the difference is between what makes an E10 plus or a teen game when it comes to shooting somebody, for example. If you shoot somebody like in Contra and they fall over and they blink and they disappear, totally fine and acceptable because it's not real. Like it's very, they call it cartoon violence, right? Us growing up watching Bugs Bunny cartoons all day long, that's considered cartoon violence. Yes, somebody's getting run over or falling off a building, but it's not believable. Where you get crossing the teen is if you shoot somebody and they go, and it's like a violent thing, or blood comes off, or their arm comes off, or they scream in terror. That's where, and I'm just telling you how
like
the industry. Say again?
Comparing Lifeforce, if I'm saying that right, Lifeforce.
I'm not
comparing that game to that Contra. Well, I mean, your body can explode and.
Gotcha. Yeah, so that's where it crosses over. So Contra is absolutely 100. Castlevania, those type of games.
So what if does Castlevania, even though it'll have like the crucifixes and all of that imagery, that'll end up E10?
Yeah.
Okay.
Again, on our system, that's okay.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
it's
Fair
just the
enough.
it's just
Fair
the
enough.
blood and the gore. And
Do
so
you
so
do
to
you have a personal problem with any of the violence? Because the way that
no,
you said,
I fight for the industry to make violent games.
well, the
I
way
fought for
that
that
the
for
way
30
that
years.
you posed it when I asked that question, did Night Trap go too far, for example?
Nope,
You were like,
I
well,
don't
if
think
you
Night
want
Trap went too far.
if you want, a system, that has violence and kids in sexual positions and rape,
Hmm.
then get a
Yes.
Switch.
What
And
I
it just
what I
sounds like there was disdain in there. Like, if you buy a Switch, then you're for this or that or whatever.
that is not that is completely again, if that's how I came across, then I
That
apologize.
was the tone. That's how I took it. So
Okay.
I'm go ahead. I'm letting you
I was gonna say
clarify on it.
if that's how you took it, that wasn't how I meant it. So what my problem was that I was getting that I was talking about earlier was that I have I don't mind blood, gore, violence, whatever. The creators should be able to create whatever they want. Where I have the issue and where I think the industry is failing is that when you have a machine like the Nintendo Switch, where parents and a lot of folks think that it's, hey, we don't have to worry about it, right? But then you can get games that have full frontal nudity. You can get games on the Switch that have children in sexual
Well, let
positions.
me let me pose this right back to you. These
Okay.
same games that you're referring to, are they also on Steam?
Well, here's the thing. They're also on PlayStation,
Right, but
but
they're censored on PlayStation and they're
exactly.
censored on
Thank you.
other consoles, but not on
Right.
Steam, correct?
Correct. That's my understanding. Yes.
So here's what I'm getting at, Tommy.
But parents
Ultimately,
don't let
the
their kids play
onus
on Steam. That's the difference.
ultimately the onus really falls down to the parents. That
Absolutely, I
you know,
agree.
so I just see you bringing up like, oh, the Wall Street Journal had a great article, and
Yeah.
Wall Street Journal is kind of a hot button issue on YouTube itself because of the history against PewDiePie and whatever.
Uh,
But um, hearing that coming out of your mouth was kind of like, oh man, I don't know. I don't know if
but
Tommy's so far, the culture that exists right now in gaming. Maybe he's a little against violence himself.
no. Do you have a better understanding now?
I guess.
You don't have to agree with
Do you
me,
do you think
but
do
do you
you think
understand that I am not a censor, some kind of holy roller? Look, I'm an East
what do you
Coast
think
Italian.
Nintendo should do to?
I don't think they should allow those type of games on their system. They should censor them like Sony does. That's all. Is that asking too much?
Well, I don't know. It's just not. I guess it's not for me to really say what they should do with their
Yeah.
business. But one thing I think is fair. To bring up is, in Japan, the consent laws are
Yeah.
some of the lowest in any.
Relaxed, let's say.
I mean, they're 13, so
Yeah.
obviously, our culture here doesn't really. It clashes with that,
Okay.
obviously.
Sure.
So if
Fair
you're if
statement.
you're if you're having a Japanese game that's bleeding over into the American market, certainly there's going to be some, things that you see where it's kind of like, wait, whoa, what
Yeah.
the fuck,
Yeah.
Like, I'll give you an example. When I was first getting into buying all the shooters, I hadn't gotten a Nintendo yet, so I still just
Okay.
had like my PS3 and my Xbox 360 and my iPad, pretty much. So I was trying to get as many shooters as possible, and one of my all-time favorite franchises is Gradius. So I saw this game called and I'm gonna probably butcher the butcher how you say it, but Automatius Excellent, right? I don't know if you ever heard of it or not.
No, I don't
but
know
it's
that
basically these they take the Gradius ship, the Vic Vipers and whatever, and they put scantily clads like, straddling these ships, right? And they shoot. Now, when I got it, I was thinking, hey, Gradius game, but then I get it, and then it's like pretty much the same thing, like this game that you brought up, which is what was it, Mary Skelter 2?
Yep.
I believe that's one of them.
Mary Skelter 2. Yeah.
So in this Gradius type game, one of the things you can do is like touch, all their areas, right? And they moan and groan and whatever. But in this one, at least from memory, and I'm looking at this for the first time, and I'm thinking to myself, like, what in the fuck is going on here, right? But they all looked, 18 or older, or barely legal or whatever, which is certainly a thing. I mean, here in New Orleans, an hour and a half away from my house, they have a strip club called Barely Legal. So we as humans all have this sort of thing, and I just think in Japan, their threshold and our thresholds are way different.
Right.
Is that fair to say?
And so that's basically what I was trying to say, is that it would be nice if that stuff, because Nintendo has come out, the president, as you know, they were the ones quoted in the New York Times, not New York Times, the
Wall Street
Journal article. It was Nintendo. It wasn't somebody else's opinion. Nintendo president says, yeah, you know what? We're not going to censor the stuff on the Switch.
Well, yeah, to be fair, all the shit they have gotten for it over the years, maybe they finally decided, you know what, no more. We're not going to do any of it.
And you know what? That's totally their prerogative. And
that's another thing. This what was the other game?
And I don't like it.
What was the other one you had brought up? Town the Light, or
the rape one. Yeah.
Right.
I mean, they show it. They depict a scene of rape. Yes.
So here,
would you want your 5-year-old daughter playing that game?
Well, no, but who's gonna? If you're really watching over your kid, who's gonna end up putting that in front of a 5-year-old? But
but that's my point, Trevor. Is that how many parents even know that stuff exists on the Switch? Just censor it, so they don't have to. That's my point. And we might disagree on that, and that's fine.
If you have parental locks on.
Yeah.
Can you get that game?
Right. Have you and how many percentage of Switch owners do you think have the parental controls on? Have you ever?
That's not Nintendo's fault, though.
I know. Am I blaming Nintendo ever? The only thing I'm saying is I think they should censor the stuff. They should censor full frontal nudity.
Right. So to me that is equating that is putting onus on Nintendo and not the parent. That's one of the reasons I wanted to get into it, because that's how I thought you were taking it, and if that's how you feel, that's how you feel.
I think that they could take more responsibility like Sony does, and I'm not a Sony fanboy.
Let me ask you this: this Town the Light game, if I'm even saying the title right, So, first of all, this game's a walking simulator, right? And
it's a story. It's a very story narrative driven game. Yeah.
Right. But it's a walking simulator. You walk around and experience things that trigger certain things. So, that was based on real things. Not, I wouldn't say a real account of someone, because it
makes it so even more horrifying, but yes, go ahead.
Well, let me ask you something. If a woman gets raped and she ends up rising out of that horror and decides, I'm going to be a developer, and she makes a walking simulator simulating what she's gone through in an artful way,
Yep.
And then Tommy's here like, I'm going to censor that. Is that right?
No, don't put words in my mouth. I've already told you, I don't mind that stuff as an artistic thing.
But you think Nintendo should censor it?
Because parents don't realize, because Nintendo's the family machine and parents don't realize it. Nobody's giving their 5-year-old.
To be fair, maybe Nintendo could do a better job at saying.
That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying, Trevor. That's all I'm saying.
We're not going to be censoring anything, so you need to watch, whatever. But I don't think they need to cross the threshold of we're going to censor it for you.
All right, well, me and you have a different point of view on that. That's okay.
Yeah, and that's completely fine. That's completely fine.
Yeah, I like Sony's approach better than Nintendo's. Is that a fair thing to say?
Yeah, I mean that's fine. It's just it's only recently they took that approach. It's only really recently they took that approach.
Well, it's just. There's some things that Microsoft does that I don't like. There's some things that Sony does that I don't like. And there's some things that Nintendo does that I don't like. I still love all three companies and I appreciate them and I respect them. And I think they're all freaking amazing. And they're a lot more amazing than the small gripes I have with each and every one of them. But, for Nintendo, it's one of my gripes with Nintendo. And again, but please don't anyone put words in my mouth. And I'm not saying you are, but don't put words in my mouth that I am trying to censor creators. I'm not, and I fought for it for 30 years. And anyone who paints me as that is misrepresenting and it's insulting after all of the fine work that I've done in this category over 30 years. And so anyway, so
it's a semantical. We're debating over semantics. You think Nintendo should step in, and I don't think they should. I think onus is on the parents. It's that simple. We're just discussing semantics.
Cool.
Yeah. So that's pretty much what I wanted you to clarify on. That's pretty much everything I had that I expected you to clarify on, man.
Cool.
So if you want to discuss more, we can, or we can.
You want to take questions from your?
We can take questions from people if people have questions. I haven't really been able to pay attention to the chat, but if anybody's got questions, now's the time. And after that, we'll pretty much wrap it up and call it done. Sometimes
when's
Trevor
the next
cares
pre-order
too much.
coming? PJ says our pre-order is currently, you can go to fig.co and we're running our pre-order there. We have different partners, exclusive partnerships, so we kind of move that around so that we can get in front of more people. So currently it's on fig.co if you'd like, and I think that's running till the 4th. May 4th, I believe. Ermi says, Tommy, is Thunder Castle coming? Yes, that is on our to-do list. We haven't started that game yet, but that's probably something we're going to be starting sometime in 2021 next year. How much battery life will the Amico controller go on one charge? It's about 5 to 6 hours on one charge. And again, our style of games aren't really, again, we're not 9-hour, Red Dead 2 kind of thing. So, and again, you can be charging extra controllers, right there in the console. If you see any, Trevor,
there's one thing I did forget to ask you that I meant to bring up. So it came up in the stream. Where are the games gonna go? And it sounded like it was something you couldn't exactly reveal yet.
Say again, where the game's gonna go? How do you mean?
Yeah, Rich had asked you where the hell are the games gonna go.
You mean on the memory?
The physical games where?
Yeah, the physical stuff we haven't announced yet because we're still.
Okay, yeah. So it's something you haven't. Yeah.
Yeah, we have big partnerships. Something we'll probably reveal sometime at the end of summer, and we're gonna have it's gonna be a kind of a big rollout. So we're still getting all the press releases and quotes and manufacturing and partnerships and all that together. We've been working on this for 2 years, and it's all coming together nicely, but we just want to have as many people involved as we can. So
All right, good deal. So,
yeah.
Level 2 Online wants to know what's your favorite Rocky movie?
What's my favorite Rocky movie?
Yeah.
I better answer this right. So I know what his answer is, Rocky 4. So if I say Rocky 4, he's gonna clap and go, "Yes, you're the man." But he knows my answer is actually Rocky 3, but Rocky 4. but to Level 2 Online, just for you, I'll say Rocky 4 this time.
Let's see. Skyline and Sunsets. Can you clarify if Amico has a try before you buy feature? Try
Yeah,
before.
no, well, yes and no, right? So yeah, you can take your controller over your friend's house, and we can play all my games on their system. So they can try them on your system if I've already bought them. So it's a really kind of cool sharing thing that we do.
All right, so Destiny FOMO asks, what is the primary coding language for the system, and what compilers would you recommend?
Yeah, so I mean, a lot of folks are using Unity because I think it's kind of the most widely used, and so much great scripts and stuff that you can get, and the Unity store and everything has so much stuff. So if you're somebody who's just starting out, I would recommend Unity. That would probably be the one, because that's it here. Let me see what else. If you see any, Trevor, throw them
Yeah,
out
I
to
thought
me.
you were gonna pick one. So, will there be a switchover mode with games to their classic versions from their updated versions?
We have a couple of games that are like that. If you look on our trailer and you look at our asteroids, you can see it. There's a little button down and it says shift. And so you play it kind of like as a, more of like a 32-bit style game. And then when it shifts, it goes back to the original black and white from 1978, I believe it was. So yeah, some of those games will have it, but certainly not all of them.
All right, Sniper Melon, Mr. Tallarico, how many consoles would you have to sell to be considered succurrently
About
make a profit?
180,000. And we currently have purchase orders for 100,000. We actually had purchase orders for 200, over 200,000, but because of the whole Corona thing, we had to stop taking purchase orders, cut back, go to our retailers. The retailers have been super cool with us, super duper cool. In fact, one of the major retailers is going to be announcing the Galaxy Purple. Somebody asked me about the purple one, in fact. So yeah, that's so one of the major retailers is going to be announcing that they're putting the Galaxy Purple on pre-order next week. Actually, is it this week? Shoot, it might even be this week. We're trying for this Friday, so it might be this Friday. If not, it'll be the following week on Monday. But yeah, so we've had to massively cut back on the purchase orders, and the retail has been super cool because they understand, they get it. The whole COVID thing. Again, Nintendo is running into the same problem, right? They wish they could make more Switches now.
Right. So here's something topical to what's going on now with Nintendo.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure I heard that a bunch of people got hacked on Nintendo.
Yeah, I heard about
How
that.
will you protect people's credit card info and
Yeah,
all that
that's a
stuff?
great question. I'm glad you asked.
That was
So
Reyes World TV that asked that.
Reyes, yo, great question, Reyes. So basically, we're not building that kind of back end system. We do not want to be responsible for that kind of data collection and this and that. So there's a whole bunch of off the shelf solutions. These are companies that are like worth hundreds of millions of dollars that do this for all of the biggest companies like Stripe and PayPal, but those are ones that people might know. But there's a lot of like back end company. Zola is one, for example. If you look up XSOLLA, so they do all the like the back end payments stuff for things like Roblox. And so there's all these off the shelf companies and solutions, and you basically pay them a small percentage. It could be anywhere from 2.5% to 5%. So that's what we're doing. We're doing what all of the other companies do, most companies, which is let somebody else handle it. We don't want to be responsible on our servers. Like if somebody wants to hack into our servers and like, you know, download people's high scores, then so be it. But those are the only things we're going to be keeping on our is like, you know, leader.
Right. So, what I know you kind of touched on this on the last interview and probably the other interviews, but could you go into more detail on how online is exactly going to work? Like, are you going to have any sort of private chats with people or anything? Because I know you said
No,
the controller has a
not
mic option
initially.
right now.
Yeah, not
I know
initially.
something about you said the first 2 years, and then if y'all have a majority of people, y'all might do a firmware update
Yeah,
or whatever.
that
But
and that's a lot of consoles have done that in the past too. You know, they haven't like launched. You know, we want to make sure. You know, there's this thing people refer to as feature creep, which is you try to do too much stuff and then you end up, you know, doing it all kind of mediocre. So we're always trying to like, oh, we have these so many great ideas, but you know what? Let's put that on the back burner because we got to focus on, you know, the most important things. So yeah, you know, again, we have a whole different approach to this stuff. So, you know, our moniker is Together Again. That's our motto. You see it on our website, and you know, bringing families together again to play like you would on a board game night, right? When people say, "Oh, are you competing with Switch and Nintendo and Microsoft and Sony?" I really don't, and we're not competing with mobile either because that's a solitary device. We compete more with like board games. Like that's our, you know, kind of outlook, you know, on the whole thing. So, and so the last thing we want to do is little Jimmy, you know, going in his room and then getting online with headphones and then talking to people the parents don't know. Again, it's a whole part of our trust thing. So we would rather build a machine where people come together. Now, my brother lives in North Carolina. I'd love nothing more than to play him, you know, not strangers, but play him in a game. But where that affects everything is it affects budgets big time. If you want to put a game and make it online, you've just now doubled the budget and you've doubled the time to make that game. So that means our $9.99 or less thing, poof, throw that out the window. Now you're $19.99 or less. Oh yeah, and by the way, to play online, you need those back end servers, whether it's, you know, Amazon's AWS. So now you got to start charging people a monthly thing for that, right? So you can see how it starts to like go against like everything we're trying to accomplish and be unique about. Now, that being said, if a couple years from now, folks, you know, say, you know, the real like an overwhelming majority of our folks, our customers are please begging for it, then you know what maybe we'll do is we will come out with some online games and then charge a little more and then have to hook somebody up to like a $5 or $10 a month thing to play those games again, just like all the other companies do. That's why they charge though, because they're getting charged, right? Every single bit of data that gets transferred, you know, is the company has to pay for that. This stuff isn't free, right? So that's why companies do it. So again, I'm you know, that's I don't know if we're going to do that or not, but I'm certainly open to it. But initially, we really want to just create something cool and unique and knock that out of the park first.
so look for the digital sales.
Uh-huh.
Is that going to be a purchased license agreement, or is that going to be you buy this game, it's yours, period?
You buy the game and it's yours. Yeah.
Never
And
going to expire, nothing like that.
no, no,
So,
hell no. Hell no. We're the exact opposite of it.
well, that's cool. That's really cool.
Yeah. And again, you'll be able to keep them right, you know, because these are, you know, these are smaller type of games. You know, they don't take up 8 hours to freaking do a firmware update and then like what was it, Red Dead 2, I was like, are you kidding me? Like, I was all excited to sit down and play it. And it's like, it took me 5 hours to load the damn game up before I even started to play it. And by that time, it was like, oh, it's too late. I ran out of time.
I lost the person asking, but someone was asking if they could expect to see a new Lock and Chase.
Yeah, that's definitely that's a big game on our list. Lock and Chase is owned by the same people. They used to be called Data East, and now they're called G Mode. And so they own Burger Time, Lock and Chase, and what was the other one we're doing with them? Crap, I can't even think now. But yes, Lock and Chase is on our list. We haven't started it yet, but it's on our to-do list for sure. Yeah.
So Super Cobra, will that be side scrolling or have a top down view?
Lock and Chase?
No, Super Cobra.
Oh, I'm sorry. Super Cobra, we haven't we don't have the license for that. I would put that on my list. I think it's cool. Yeah, we'd keep it, I think, the same perspective if I were to think about it now. Don't anyone hold me to this, but I would kind of keep the same perspective, maybe tilt it a little bit so you get a little bit more dimension. But yeah, I'd probably go more like that.
So let's see, Fresh JW.
Bump and Jump. Thank you, Dan Schmidt. Yes, Bump and Jump. That was the third game I was trying to think of that Gmode has. So yes, Bump and Jump, Lock and Chase, and Burger Time. Those are the three focuses we have. Burger Time first, Bump and Jump second.
Fresh JW asks, will I be able to walk into a big retail store such as Walmart or Target and buy one of these things on 10/10?
Yes.
Oh, there you go.
Something. Well, okay. B-17 Bomber, Fresh JW. Yes. Coming. It's already started. Hopefully on launch, but it might not make launch because we got to make it great. So we're trying for launch, but if not, it'll be probably by the end of the year. Radical Reggie says, Tommy, thanks for being up front with everything. I appreciate that. Radical Reggie, a lot of people, don't like my personality and my passion and my whatever you want to call it. There's a couple of haters here in the chat tonight, and that's fine. The system's not for you. I get it. That's cool.
It's the internet, Tommy.
It's the internet, right? Man. It is. Well, trust me, dude. How old are you, Trevor?
38.
38. So I've been dealing with this stuff when you were a teenager. I mean, people might forget, but I was on a video game television show from 1994 to 2007. So 12, 13 years. I was on a TV show about video games, and message boards were just starting to get popular. So yeah, I've endured many a hater in my life.
Yeah, I would imagine so. But listen, I think we're gonna end it there, man.
Cool. Okay,
I definitely want to thank you for having me.
No, I'm supposed to say that. You took my line. You took my line. Yeah. No. Well, let me just say, Trevor, that I appreciate you, and I love that we were able to have a respectful discussion. We might not agree on everything, and that's cool. Not everybody in the world agrees on every single thing, but I thought you asked some great questions. You're a great interviewer, and I hope I didn't dodge any of your questions at all. A lot of times people say, oh, no one asks him tough questions. I don't know what other questions you can ask me at this point, but I appreciate you, and I respect you, and thanks for having me on.
Yeah, definitely. No, I think you answered most of my questions. We ended up with some disagreements. We ended up with some agreements. You're gonna have agreements. You're gonna have disagreements.
Right.
So I definitely still I still wish you luck on the endeavors for sure. You know,
I
I'm not
appreciate it.
looking for this thing to fail or anything. You
I
know,
hope not.
so but yeah, thanks everyone for joining, and we'll see y'all next time.
And Trevor, if you ever have any questions or want to get a hold of me,
Actually, yeah,
reach out, my
where
friend.
this is gonna sound really dumb from me, but where can everybody reach you at?
Yeah, I have a Twitter, Tommy Tallarico. What's my name? No, I couldn't remember if there was a dash. Tommy Tallarico. I'm on Facebook, and you know us boomers. I'm not a boomer. Those are
Dude,
like 10 years
dude,
older
okay,
than me.
hold on. Let's get into that for a second, all right?
Okay, let's get into it.
Since you brought that up, okay?
Sure.
That was kind of based on, that was just a joke. You know what I'm saying? You were saying at the time you couldn't find the power button. So specifically in my head, I wasn't the only one that said boomer, right? I wasn't the only one. So don't put that all on me, all right?
I'm not.
So you had said you couldn't find the power button, and in my mind, as a 38-year-old, I'm thinking back to the late 80s, early 90s, to when my grandmother couldn't figure out how to record Murder, She Wrote, or whatever she was trying to record.
Right, on the VCA.
You know? So it was just like, okay, boomer, you can't find the power button, you know?
Right. But
it was a joke.
Would you admit, I mean, Rich admitted it too, but maybe people would call him a boomer, but you would admit that, like, it's kind of hard to turn on, to remember which side the PlayStation, like when you have all this other technology, like I don't know, maybe
they're getting smaller. They're getting smaller, but I mean, I think it's also fair to say, like, most people use their controller to turn it on. You might want to try that. Like,
yeah, no, but I'm saying when you eject the disc, though, I end up turning the machine off, or I end up like, because it's like, it's hidden.
Yeah, well, I guess that's fair. Yeah, I had to practice quite a few times on the PS4.
Oh, see, well, there you go. That's all I'm saying.
I would hit the power button instead of the eject button. So yeah, that's fair. That's
so
fair.
I have a question for you, actually, and this is a serious question, but tongue in cheek. I need you to educate me on something here.
What's up?
So in your mind, what age group is a boomer? I'm curious.
Dude, I don't even really know. My guess would be 50s, late 50s, early 60s.
So
maybe?
That's right. So I mean, officially that's incorrect, because baby boomers were people who kind of grew up in the 60s.
See, to me, I'm not tribal. I try not to be tribal. So yeah. I kind of tend to not, you know, politics and tribalism, identity politics. I try and steer clear of a lot of that stuff, you know. So yeah, definitely not surprised for me to be ignorant on a few things.
Yeah, no. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying, I was just curious. That's why I was being serious. Like I said, when I was asking the question, I'm wondering what people think, you know, the age of boomers are, because I'm a Gen Xer, and then the boomers were above me, so they're like, I'd say probably, I don't know, 60 plus. But anyway, I just thought
I don't even know what generation I'm technically from. I guess I would be a Gen Xer. Am I a millennial?
No, you're
no idea, bro.
You know, you're a millennial Gen Xer cusp. You're like my wife. My wife's a little younger than you, but she's on that cusp as well. You grew up in the 80s, so did you have older brothers?
No, all younger sisters.
All younger sisters. Oh, you were the big brother. You were the protector.
Yep.
Damn straight.
That was me, douchebag protector. Always picking on the sisters.
Oh, you look like a pretty badass guy. So I wouldn't want to show up. You know, if I was a teenage boy showing up and seeing you at the front door, I'm sure you protected them well.
I didn't get pushed a lot, so, but
yeah,
is what
cool,
it
man.
Is. All right, Tommy.
Well, I appreciate the conversation. Let me know if you ever want to have. I'm always open to answer whatever you need. And thank you to everybody who showed up in the chat. Very appreciative. See a lot of familiar names, and thanks for being a part of it.
Yeah. So with that, we'll see you next time.
Cool. Bye, everyone.